Namaskar. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your support and encouragement for the last few episodes. Like in the previous episodes, we were discussing about the various aspects of this COVID 19 pandemic, especially concentrating on the Indian crisis in this second wave. As I said, the main motive of this talk is to spread some good information about this fight against COVID, and at the same time, I intend to give you some facts that are medically correct, because we find lot of experts here who are non-medicos or who don't know much. Even people with LLB degrees or people with some journalist degrees are talking like uh, specialists in medicines, and they are questioning the doctors, and that's fine. We are a part of a consumer affair system, so we are used to hearing this. But let me tell you that at the end of the day, it is going to be a doctor who is going to treat you. So instead of spreading your own conceptualized theories, it's better we spread the facts. Like I said, that one of the major reasons why I am making this series is to spread some good news, to talk about some positive things, positive facts that we don't really talk because we tend to miss it in search of negativity. Of course, the new normal right now is being negative, but then it is not good to be negative mentally. It is good to be negative physically. So, as I said in the previous episode, let us first start with some good news. The good news is in the last 1 week, the number of new cases in India has started falling. But that does not mean the peak has arrived or we are slowly heading towards the end of this second wave. That's a wrong conception again. Like the data suggests that yesterday there were some 370,000 new cases, which is down by some 11,000 or more, out of which 15.8% are active cases. At the same time, some 55,338 patients were discharged, which is again 83.04%. But what remains the concern is the 4,205 deaths, which means that death still continues to be at 1.09%. But the good news again is that in the last episode when I discussed, we had 16 crore vaccinated citizens, and in this episode we are having around 17 crore 52 lakh 35,999 vaccines. So maybe within a span of 3 to 4 days we have vaccinated around 1 crore. That's good speed. We should keep up with this speed. Well, in the previous two episodes, I discussed about the oxygen crisis and the remdesivir and toxicomab use and what are its medical indications and all. Many of my viewers suggested that I should speak something about plasma therapy also. That is the CCP therapy, which is called the COVID-19 convalescent plasma therapy. Now, I'm not an expert in this field, so I had to consult some of my friends and colleagues in the transfusion medicine who are actually doing this. I'm grateful to them for their data that they have shared with me, and I will be sharing it with you. But before that, I'd like to tell that plasma therapy, let us put the facts straight. Plasma therapy is no definitive treatment of COVID-19. Just like we are giving vaccination, the same way plasma therapy acts as a passive immunization. There are two kinds of immunization. One is the active immunization, where the body itself produces the antibodies, and other is the passive immunization, where the body is fed with antibodies. Now, this CCP therapy is that kind of a passive immunization where the body is fed with an antibody produced in some other patient who was previously COVID positive, and its only utility is it helps the body to build in or fight the COVID infection while its own system starts making the antibodies. It's a very simple concept. I have myself seen desperate attempts in the ICUs, in the DCH and DHS. In a desperate attempt, people have been using plasma therapy last year. It all started when the Delhi government made this announcement that plasma therapy is a game changer in this fight, and then later on, when everybody started following it and the WHO and other organizations started researching about this, they came up with this, that this particular therapy is no Ramban. And a personal experience, my grandfather was suffering from COVID-19 with various multiple disorders. We gave him 2 best of the best plasma units at the almost the end stage in the ICU, in a desperate hope that his body is able to fight back with the virus. But that didn't work. We tried plasma therapy, we tried remdesivir, but that didn't work. The body actually didn't respond. It was too late. Therefore, what is important is that when we think of plasma therapy, first and foremost, we need to think that when is it good to give a plasma therapy? Which candidate is good for a plasma therapy? Now, various governments, various organizations, and even private to government, it keeps varying because it is a patient to patient decision that we have to take. Broadly, a candidate is considered for the CCP therapy if he is moderately to severely ill in an HDU setup or in a normal oxygen supplying ward where the oxygen levels are falling with the patient not improving even on oxygen. Ideally, it varies from government to government that you should give the plasma therapy between day 3 to day 7 and not later than day 10. This is something that we need to be very particular about, because what we do as a family member when our patient is in ICU, we will start forcing the doctor that you give plasma therapy, you give remdesivir and all those things in a desperate attempt, but then that does not give much of an effect. But that should not discourage you from plasma therapy, because plasma therapy actually is giving some good results in, as I said, in the moderate cases who have just had a recent infection. Now, what is important is that when you should consider a candidate for plasma therapy, one should consider a candidate for plasma therapy only after a few tests that is done. Some tests are done as a routine test before any blood donation, and at the same time, what is the most important criteria is the antibody level. Now, this antibody cutoff, that this should be the antibody cutoff below which we should consider giving a plasma therapy, varies from state to state, but on average it is taken as if your antibody is below 200, that means your body is not adequately fighting with the virus, which means you need some additional aid. Last year, when there was no vaccine, plasma therapy was actually making a sense because it was acting as a passive immunity. But this year, not many talk about plasma therapy because already we are having this thing called vaccination, which is an active form of immunization. So, if you have to choose between plasma therapy or vaccine, it is always better to go for vaccination. Again, vaccination cannot be done in an active COVID-19 case. You have to wait and watch till the patient is negative with a good range of gap between his being negative and taking the next dose of vaccine or the first dose of vaccine. There is at least a month to 2 months gap that should be there, because if the antibody is at the peak, then with injection of an active vaccine there will be reactions which will be again beyond control. Now, one of the guidelines that is important that I would like to read out before you all: CCP may be given to COVID-19 patients with comorbidities. With 3 from the 3rd to 7th day of the disease, moderately sick, not maintaining good health condition even after continuous oxygen supply, along with patient with comorbidities like hypertension, diabetes, CKD, CAD, COPD, ILD and other diseases, smoker, chronic smokers with other history of respiratory diseases above 65, with mild to moderate illness, and people having wide scale lung infection should be considered as a probable candidate for plasma therapy. It may be transfused into patients on low flow oxygen therapy or in patients on high flow oxygen therapy requiring not more than 10 liter per minute. So if you see, if the patient is ventilated or a patient is on a semi-ventilation state, the patient is requiring a lot more of oxygen, there is no point of giving the plasma at that point of time. You must understand that the body has moved beyond the level of producing its own antibody from a passive form of immunization. So it is basically important to give this therapy when the patient is in a mild to moderate or maximum from a moderate to severe stage and not in a severe stage. Transfusion of CCP in ARDS patient who are on high flow nasal oxygenation and mechanical ventilation is not indicated. ARDS patients, that is acute respiratory disease syndrome patients, based on the HRCT assessment, not already put on high-end oxygen, maintaining oxygen saturations of more than 94%, may be considered for CCP transfusion. As I said, the values, the CORAD's value, that is between 4 to 5, if it is between 4 to 5 and still the patient is maintaining saturation above 94, we should not, we can consider them for a positive response if given a plasma therapy. CCP having optimum titer may be transfused with 2 subsequent doses, 2 ml each, to obtain maximum benefit, whereas single dose may be given if the high titer is available. This is the amount of antibody that is present in the CCP or the COVID-19 convalescent plasma that is being given. Now, what is important is that first thing is that you have to select the right candidate, and at the same time, while selecting the right candidate, you'll have to select a good amount of plasma also, because if you are giving a low quantity plasma, then that is not going to work. Anyways, plasma has a very limited lifespan, so we'll again have to be careful about that. Moderate diseases with increasing oxygen requirement should receive CCP therapy. It should be done before the patient goes into multiple organ failure, and failure of steroid therapy is not required to before giving plasma therapy. Ideally, people on steroids, on long-standing medications, chemotherapy and all, they are not ideal candidates for donating the plasma, but for receiving, these are very ideal candidates who can receive it. Patients should not have a history of IgA immunodeficiency syndrome, because that will again cause some kind of a reaction. Patients should be closely monitored for adverse effects, and appropriate intervention should be done. Now, what is important is that we need to understand who can be a plasma donor? This is something that people keep asking about. You can be a plasma donor in two ways. You can donate WBC, that is, the white blood donation can happen after 14 days of vaccination. CCP donation of a vaccination, if infected before vaccination, can donate CCP after 28 days of the second dose, which has now been reduced to 14 days. And if infected after vaccination, then the person cannot donate CCP. Similarly, five most important facts regarding WBC and CCP donation is post-COVID recovery with no symptoms. Plasma donation can be done after 14 days. Previously it was 28 days, now it has been reduced to 14 days because we are requiring plasma in a plasma bank. Post-COVID recovery, no symptoms, WBC donations, there is no guidelines as such, but we can take it after 14 days because even plasma donation is allowed after 14 days. Post-COVID recovery with no symptom, vaccination is possible after 28 days. But again, I would like to say, if it is the second dose of vaccination, you can give it after 28 days. But if it is the first dose, then it is better get an antibody titer and give it after 1 to 2 months. Post vaccination, a CCP donation is possible after 28 days of the second dose. Now, beyond all these things, a patient can be a plasma donor if he or she is an eligible candidate of a blood donor. And what is important is, when you go for plasma therapy, you need to be well hydrated. You need to take a light diet, less oily, less spicy, but well balanced, proper diet. And it is advisable that half an hour before your plasma donation is actually processed, you take adequate amount of water. You need to take rest after the donation. There will be some kind of dizziness, mild headache and all will be there for 2 days or something. Refreshers are given. I would like to encourage people to donate plasma after you are recovering from COVID-19. But what is more important right now is we need blood donors. We need people to donate blood before getting themselves vaccinated. As I said, in case of any kind of a vaccination history, recent vaccination history, a subject is considered ineligible to provide blood for a blood donation. And in this kind, last year we have seen there was a huge crisis of blood in our blood banks. So youngsters who are going in for vaccination should at least donate their blood before going for vaccination, so that the country does not face a crisis of blood. You can create oxygen, you can create medicines, but you cannot create blood. Blood is created from us. So the 90 crore of something of youth 18 to 44 who are going to give their who are going to take their shots of vaccine should please donate blood before taking the vaccine, so that a needy person can get a blood at the time of need. About this plasma therapy, one last thing that I need to say is that a person can donate plasma twice a month, and up to 1 year the patient can donate plasma, and it all depends on the antibody titer that is present in the patient. So we advise that patients recovering from COVID-19, if you are having good amount of antibody titer in your body, then please go ahead, donate the plasma. It works in cases if diagnosed and treated in early stages. It does work. It is a kind of a passive immunization that is important. in this fight against this pandemic. Together we can defeat this pandemic both with active and passive immunization. Active being the COVID vaccines and passive being the plasma. So come together, donate plasma if you can, but most importantly, please donate blood before going for vaccination. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will fight it together. Namaskar.